What are the keys to giving a successful presentation? Today we're going to talk about 7 ways in which you can give a successful presentation every time you take that stage. I'm excited to share this with you. I'm a Hall of Fame speaker, and yes, I've been on stages all over the world. So thank you for joining me. Here we go. What sets apart a forgettable speaker and presentation from one that's unforgettable? Think about it for you. When was the last time you heard somebody and you went, wow, that's what I want to do? That's why you're here. Let's jump into these 7 cool actionable tips. The first key is to know your audience. You would think that's obvious, but a lot of speakers actually show up after being booked without even really having a call with the client to ask what the audience is or what their needs are. They just show up thinking, oh, I can just wing it or do my canned keynote. Please don't be like that. One of the keys that I truly believe is that when we take the time to learn what our audience wants from us, we can deliver a customized presentation unlike anything they've ever seen before because you're the only one that can do what you do. One of the best examples of all time of this is a guy I talk about quite a bit because he was so influential, as well as he knew what his audience wanted. I'm talking about Steve Jobs. Yeah, I'm an Apple guy. I love my Mac and all those products, but Steve Jobs made this very amazing choice. Every time he took the stage, he knew what that audience wanted and he delivered it to them. He kept the promise. That's what I call it. Every audience expected from him to do something extraordinary and to reveal things that they had never seen before, and he did it every single time. He was a visionary person, but he was so well spoken. He presented so beautifully. I mean, his eloquence is legendary, but it was also built within the way that he revealed new products, new computers, the different language that he actually created for all of us that we now use every single day, from iPhone, iPad to all the rest. It's fascinating to think about how he catered to his audience. Now, he would do things where he would say stuff like, "That's not all," or "There might be one more thing." And the audience would cheer because the next thing they knew, he was going to deliver for them something they'd probably never seen before, such as a touch screen or being able to utilize apps. All of these different reveals meant that he knew his audience, he knew how to connect with them, and then people ran to the stores to buy it. The next key is structure and content. When you think about your presentation, are you just standing up there and winging it, or do you have a start, a middle, and an end? Don't be the type of speaker that just stands up there and tells a couple of stories or gives a few poems or use somebody else's stuff. No, instead stand up there with your structure and your content all lined out. Know your direction. It's okay to go by the feeling in the room. If you feel the spirit move you in that moment to say, I'm going to go this direction, that's okay as long as you stay within the formation of your wonderful content. I'd like you to consider for yourself having the right opening and then having a very clear body or structure and then a really great closer. Having a good opening and closing makes all the difference because it's like you're wrapping it up in a bow. There have been times where I've forgotten to do this and the audience is left wondering why I didn't close that loop. They want me to close the loop. For example, years ago I was given a full ride scholarship for basketball. And I tell this story that I had the full ride scholarship and then was suddenly distracted by my music teacher who saw that I'm a singer. She then pointed me in the direction where my career went as a singer and speaker and performer. And then speech after speech, people would say, well, whatever happened to your full ride scholarship for basketball? I always would forget to tie that up for them. I have to continually remind myself to do that. And so now I would say after the teacher saw where I was going and told me the direction of my life, I then say, oh, and by the way, I didn't take that scholarship for basketball. Instead, I went to Las Vegas to become a performer and speaker. And everyone goes, ah, okay. Even though that's a confusing conclusion. People are like, you turned away a scholarship? Yes, I did. And that was great. But they need me to close that gap. Have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Content and structure matters. And when it comes to your content and structure, really the best ways to see somebody do this well is in a TED Talk. TED Talks are 18 minutes generally. And so somebody has to give a point. They have to give their research or examples and stories and then wrap it all up. It's a very nice package. That's why we like TED Talks. Most likely you're asked to speak for longer than 18 minutes. And so being able to say to yourself, okay, I've created a good hour. Can I cut it down to 45? Can I cut it down to 30? Can I cut it down to 15 so that I could give my killer 15? That's all essential. If you were to give a TED Talk, would you be able to have an open, a middle, and a close? The next key I would recommend is to engage with visuals. A lot of speakers use slides, and that's a wonderful thing when it's the appropriate slide deck. Sadly, a lot of speakers also have way too much information on their slides, and you watch them and you think, well, have they never been in the audience and not been able to realize that you can't see all of those words and it's a mess up there? Well, make it visually appealing. Make it interesting to the audience. And choose your slides wisely. I've done other videos on this channel if you want to go check it out. The fourth key I would recommend is to master nonverbal communication. What does that mean? Think about your eyes. Think about your smile. Think about your hair. Think about your body. Think about your clothing. Think about the different ways in which you stand and pose and move and walk and pace, or the way that you power pose. And give yourself a chance to share something without moving. There are a lot of ways that we communicate through just our body that can be either brought down by the fact that we say something and our body doesn't match, or it can be uplifted by it. I remember seeing a speaker, her name is Connie Deacon. Connie Deacon, when she took the stage at this event, it blew my mind. Here's why. I was at an event with a lot of other professional speakers who have made a living for a long time, and they looked good on stage, but they also looked like normal people, and that was great. And then Connie Deacon took the stage. I remember sitting there thinking to myself, this is the most well put together person I think I've ever seen in my life. She had poise and posture. She had, I believe, the little mic. She chose this mic, where I don't like that. I like to hold the microphone in my hand, but she had this mic, if I recall. Her hair was perfectly done. I could tell that her makeup had been done backstage because she just looked so well put together. Her dress was custom fitted, and she had sleeveless dress on. What I found fascinating was her shoulders and her arms, and her body looked the part. Now, as a speaker, when you stand on stage and you talk about certain things, the audience is judging you. I don't want to make you nervous about that, but nonverbal communication says a lot when you stand on stage and somebody can tell that you care about how you present yourself. She didn't have to say a thing for me to believe what she was about to say. When she talked about commitment or she talked about giving your best, I could tell just by the way she looked that she gives her best in everything she does, including to herself. And in that moment, I said, I have to commit greater to looking the part on stage. I'm still working towards that. That was over a decade ago that I saw her. I remember running into her in the halls at another event years later, and I said, Connie, you don't know what you've done for me to see that I need to work harder at looking the part when I get on stage, and you're my example. That really floored her for whatever reason, but I think she knows that she's worked hard to look the part. She's not trying to appear perfect, but she does life right, and you can tell when she gets on stage, she's the kind of person that truly cares about how she comes across. And it matters to the audience. It matters to me. Go check out conniedeacon.com. You'll be inspired too. Another key to a successful presentation is to foster interaction with the audience. One of the greatest speakers in the world is Tony Robbins. If you're familiar with him, he's one of the greats of all time. He does interaction with the audience in a very unique way. You know, a lot of speakers will stand on stage and stay there up on the stage, which is great. And you can ask questions and you can throw out comments and so forth. But Tony Robbins, he gets on stage, he jumps around, everybody's jumping with him, he's doing his thing, and then he goes down into the audience. He tells the cameramen prior that he's going to do this, so they follow him around and they can still have him on the big screen. But his whole intention is to go into the audience and to talk to them, to interact with people one-on-one. He actually has people ready with microphones to come and hand them to the person so that he can talk to that person and everyone can learn together watching this interaction. Tony Robbins is the master of it. Go check out Tony if you're not familiar with his work. Let's talk about the next key of adaptability and authenticity. Adaptability just means that you're able to shift things in the moment and that you can be authentic about how you do it. There are a lot of speakers who talk about authenticity, and they're very good at it, obviously, but there's one that I have to highlight, and she's not related to the guy I just told you about. Her name is Mel Robbins. I remember when I first met Mel, she was a very good speaker, obviously. I mean, she's articulate, she's amazing, and she had this idea called the 5-second rule she was about to launch. She had just done a TED Talk and it was starting to go viral. And this was over a decade ago when we first met. I'll never forget the fact that she could go into any audience and she could adapt to whatever was happening. If you follow Mel Robbins, or if you don't, you need to go check her out at melrobbins.com, but look at her social media mostly. I actually get an email from her every single morning because she has such consistent blogs and newsletters. It's incredible. Here's what I love about Mel. She's the most authentic speaker I've ever seen. She actually posts things where she's not yet ready for the day. She has no makeup on. She just rolled out of bed. She actually talks about how hard it is to get up every morning, and she's a motivational speaker. I love that. She talks about getting in the ice bath and how horrible it is. I like that. She's somebody who's been adaptable to the changing times to make it so that she's that much more authentic with us and not making us think she's some perfect motivational speaker. I love that about Mel. You will too. Go check her out as you become more authentic and adaptable to the market. Another key I recommend, this is the 7th one, practice, practice, practice. I know Allen Iverson used to say, practice, man, we're talking about practice, right? No, when it comes to being a great presenter and a great speaker, you need to practice. Olympians practice, professional athletes practice, people that play instruments practice, dancers practice. What about your practice? As a speaker, so many people think, no, I'll just practice when I'm on stage. Please take the time in your hotel room before you go on that stage to run through your slides. Look in the mirror and talk if you have to. I don't love the mirror thing, but I prefer more setting up a camera or just recording it into your phone. Doing these practices will actually help you become that much tighter in your words in saying something that matters and is memorable. Unfortunately, a lot of speakers don't bother with doing that, and that's their own challenge and problem. But you are not a normal speaker. You're going to take these keys and do something great with it. What I hope that you'll also do is figure out your authentic voice. Along with all these keys to becoming a better presenter, you need to share your great voice that only you have. I've put together this great assessment tool called the ICM process. If you go to jasonhewlett.com/ICM, you can get this assessment tool. It will change your life. I want you to go get it right now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm excited for you and your next presentation.